Okay, gents, let's switch gears now and focus on the US men's national team. We know there are some huge World Cup qualifiers coming up. I want to ask you one simple question. Which players are the most important for the US in these January and early February World Cup qualifiers? A bit of an unusual window, unusual time of the season, but obviously you have qualifiers coming up against El Salvador, Honduras, and Canada, a huge one. And remember, our partners at Telemundo, they have all the games streamed. You can watch live. So we'll keep you updated with all of those stream links and how to watch information ahead of those big games. But Andy, I'm going to come to you first. Which players are the most important for Greg Berhalter's side for this final push towards World Cup qualification for Qatar in 2022?
So this is going to sound like an easy way out to take this answer because, you know, the most recognizable and maybe best or most talented player on the team. But we really need to see Christian Pulisic come into camp, have a strong showing, not put the team on his back, but have a couple of moments where we say, oh, yeah, that's the guy that we have looked at for future World Cups and said, get him to that Chelsea level, get him to a level where he's playing every single week the way that he has been for the last month or so. I know he's been in a few different positions and everything, and that complicates it just a little bit, but we know where he's going to play. When the second that he walks into U.S. men's national team camp, we know where he's going to be. We know he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet. And so I would really like to see, it'll be the first time in qualifying that he's had a run of games for his club leading up to it, that he's had a full set of training leading up to it. He'll be there for camp. Everything is kind of setting up a little bit for effectively the second half of World Cup qualifying to be a moment for Christian Pulisic to kind of reestablish himself and say, hey, I know I had some injuries. I know I was unavailable. I know some other guys stepped up. This is still my team. And I think that's a really important thing for all the talk about Tyler Adams is the most irreplaceable. Weston McKennie is the player that kind of knits everybody together as just the character of the locker room. But I still think, and you can see it on the field, the other players look to Pulisic. They defer to him in tough situations. He is in their mind, and that's the most important. It's the only thing that matters, really. In the player's mind, he is the leader of that group. He is the chosen individual to lead them, and they all look to him. They respect him. They look up to him. They admire him. They follow his lead. And so I want to see him come into camp and be that guy for a couple of weeks. And if he can do that, then I think that we'll be talking about a U.S. men's national team that is either already in the World Cup in about a month time or a point or two away. And at that point, it gets really fun. Then we can start actually dreaming about what the 23-man roster is going to look like, who's going to be there, what they're going to do. We can look at other teams in the World Cup and start piecing together the draw. The fun can start if Christian Pulisic can have a really strong January for the U.S.
And that's a great point about the player pool and getting excited. Nick Mendola over at Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com has an article he updates pretty much every month about the US men's national team player pool, where they're ranking, who's sitting where. So I urge you to go and read that because it is absolutely essential, especially as we head towards these World Cup qualifiers that are key. Nick, for you, is Pulisic the main man? Or I feel like you're going to say Weston McKennie, but maybe I'm wrong there. But there is a couple of players, right, that stand out and really need to lead the US in these big qualifiers.
So this is tricky for me. I almost feel pulled to say something crazy, but I would say that the story of the United States men's national team right now is going to be run the show and don't lose. It would be stunning to me if they lost at home to El Salvador. And going to Canada where it's frozen, anything could happen. I mean, they're going to be playing in the donut box, right? They're going to be playing in Hamilton, Ontario, very close to me. The Bills have a playoff game that's going to be a single degree on Saturday night. So you can imagine what they're going to be going into in Ontario. And then Honduras is coming to Minnesota. So I guess what I could say is I don't necessarily expect free-flowing football. I think that the conditions are going to ask a lot of the USA. So when I say run the show and don't lose, who comes to mind? And that's Tyler Adams. Control the ball, step in and make the big tackle. This is the guy that I'm looking to. Weston McKennie, I will admit, is starting to become my favorite player. The Clint Dempsey of the midfield, the attitude, the strength of will. I love that out of him. And I think there's no question really that if we all were to boil down and look at each other, we'd say that Andy got the name we want. I will throw something else out there, though, because it would have been cheating to say 2 players, or can I include the whole back line? When I think about Canada and their threat, and I think about any hope El Salvador or Honduras has of getting past the United States, whether it's Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, if John Brooks is somehow in the fold, whoever has to put out those fires probably is the most important player in that unit.
Yeah. Let me throw Sergiño Dest's name in there as well. If we're talking about the first line of defense against, say, I don't know, Alphonso Davies, it's a little bit scary.
David, yeah.
Yeah, that is scary. That is scary. And my next question is kind of links very nicely. Is it still the same area of weakness for the US men's national team? Is it a centre back and centre forward where we still feel like we've been talking about this for years, that we need someone to step up in those positions, and different players are coming in and out? John Brooks looked good. Now he's on the way out. Miles Robinson's come in and looks very good. And then up top, obviously Daryl Dike and Ricardo Pepe got some big moves early in the January window. But what are we looking at here for the area of weakness? Who wants to jump in with this? Because I still think it's pretty similar, right, Nick?
Yeah, because I have a short one, so I feel good jumping in because I think Andy can take the wheel here. I actually think center forward is not going to be a concern until the World Cup. I think they have enough guys to succeed in CONCACAF there. They have enough center backs to succeed in CONCACAF as well, but I don't know what the answer is. Especially John Brooks, to me, was the one guy I would have penciled in for Qatar. Not that he's constantly amazing, but because he's got the experience, he's scored in a World Cup. So, yeah, Andy, for me, center forward they're fine to get through to the World Cup. But center back is maybe where I'm most concerned to get to the World Cup.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think we've seen that throughout qualifying, getting goals contributed from the wings, from central midfield. That's obviously, and set pieces as well, I think going to be something that if they can effectively use those and prepare themselves for the World Cup, I think that's a little bit of a worry for me, is kind of thinking of qualifying and the World Cup as two different things. It really is the same thing. It's building through this process and having the team having a lot of questions at the start of World Cup qualifying, using those 14 games to answer as many of those questions as you can to have the best form team, the best consistency, the continuity that you can have at the World Cup. I do worry about the defensive situation, because for all the promise of Sergiño Dest, the matchups in this window coming up are a little bit scary. Anthony Robinson has been fantastic, and I wrote a little bit about him last week in talking about U.S. men's national team players that might need a move in January or in the summer. He doesn't need it. I think it would be fine if he moved to a Premier League club, though, because he has proven over a period of time he's that quality of a left back. It's as simple as that. If Fulham get promoted this season, he's back in the Premier League, fine. That's absolutely no problem. But I think that, weirdly enough, the one position where we've not had anybody for 15, 20 years is the one position along the back line now at left back that I feel really confident. Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman's a really good pairing at center back for CONCACAF. To Nick's point, once they get to the World Cup, it's a little bit of a different story. So while I'm not worried about either of them right now, I do think once we get to the World Cup, unless someone emerges and really takes one of those positions or those groups by the scruff of the neck, we'll be talking about these same things in about 10 months' time.
Okay, talking about 10 months' time, it's the World Cup. Let's have a bit of fun here to end this segment. Let's predict what our US men's national team starting lineup, the strongest one is right now and will be moving forward, because that's a lot of fun to do. It always is. I'm sure we're all going to agree on this. But let's go with a 4-2-3-1 formation. I think we all agree that's probably the USA's best formation, right? In terms of the players they have right now and what Bill Harter likes to play. So in goal, do we all agree Zach Steffen was the starter right now? Thumbs up?
I do.
And yeah, it's fine either way.
It's close. Him and Matt Turner.
Also true.
Yeah, him and Matt Turner right there. So he's in goal. Right back, Sergiño Dest, Anthony Robinson. Left back, all agree on that. At centre back, right now, Zimmerman and Miles Robinson, I think, have earned those spots through their performances in recent World Cup qualifiers. So that's pretty easy. We got the back four and goalkeeper sorted. Two holding central midfielders, Mckenny and Adams, again, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Where it becomes more difficult for me is looking at the attacking areas. We know that there's some very talented players there, but what are the best combinations? Because we know Pulisic is going to start on the left, I would think. But Giovanni Rainer is now closing in on his return for Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, now he's finally back in the mix after being out for most of this season. So that's a huge boost. So, guys, what those other attacking positions? You've got Tim Weah, Pepe. How are we going to line this up here? Who wants to jump in?
I am 1-star performance away from Yunus Musa from saying this might be the best, or maybe not the best or most accomplished, but the most talented and well-rounded midfielder that the U.S. men's national team has ever had, because he does so many things so well. A true number 8. I don't love him getting forward quite as much, and so maybe 4-2-3-1 wouldn't be the way that you would get him in the midfield with Adams and McKenny. They're very interchangeable, all three of those players, and they seem to really like each other, and they have a good understanding of playing with each other. So he's in there absolutely for me. And if Tim Weah is healthy by that point, then absolutely he's in, because he's had a fantastic season for Lille, and the moments that he's had for the U.S. in a handful of games, he kind of carried them over the line in a couple of results.
He did. So, okay, Tim Weah on the right flank, Pulisic on the left, and then maybe Musa as the number 10. Like, maybe. Well, in a midfield 3, so maybe we'll go 4-3-3. And then Ricardo Pepe up top. What do we think? I mean, is he the go-to guy right now, or what are we going to do in that position? Because I feel like it's harsh on Gio Reyna. He's obviously incredibly talented, but he's been out injured for a long time. So I don't know. It's between him and Musa, right? But depending on how attacking you want to be and what kind of formation, if you want to go 4-3-3 or go 4-2-3-1. So, Nick, what do you reckon, mate?
Well, that's exactly where I'm at. I think if you're going for a 4-2-3-1 and you're rigid about your structure, I want Reyna there. I do. But if it's a 4-3-3 and you're not rigid about your structure and you're 4-2-3-1, then yeah, I do want Musa. I think Reyna has to be out there. And the main reason is because Andy mentioned, and I wouldn't say ever with Musa, because of Gio's dad. Like, you talk about guys that I love. And to me, that is kind of I hate when you compare the dad and the son. So I'm not meaning to do that. But whenever I think about how excited I am about Gio Reyna, and I remember the mentality and the hard-edged family he comes from, his mother was fantastic as well, I think that the sky really is the limit. There were times when we were talking about, is there a chance Reyna meets Pulisic's level? I think he's a really, really special player mind-wise, and he's not the scorer, so he's not going to jump off the page like Pulisic. But the one name I want you guys to keep an eye on, because right now I would say it's Ricardo Pepe. But remember that Jordan Pefok, before he went to Young Boys, was at Rennes. I mean, this is a good player, and I could see him making a move in August and having a couple weeks on a very big stage to show us just what he can do. And he has scored. Had a 4-goal game a few weeks ago, has scored in the Champions League against good teams. So I think he's kind of the wild card here.
And I think that this underlines basically the problem area up top for the US, that no one is really grabbing that central striker position, the number 9. And maybe Tim Weah or Pulisic as a false 9 and some kind of fluid movement would actually work better to get both Yunus Musa and Gio Reyna into the starting lineup together. So who knows? Greg Berhalter knows what he's doing so far. The US are on the cusp of qualifying for the World Cup. They need a strong January and early February performances in these World Cup qualifiers to really seal the deal and get close to Qatar and the World Cup in 2022. And remember, on Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com, the 3 gents you can see here will keep you updated of all the latest qualifiers from the USA. And of course, Telemundo, they will have all of the games streaming live. And we are really looking forward to watching the US in action this month and finally getting one step closer to qualifying for a World Cup.